Alright. That's the end of the first week. Last day of the first week. Day 7. Feeling pretty alright. Just a little bit tired. Went a little long for something. A little bit later than usual. We'll see how that impacts me, if negligible. Let's see, yesterday we kinda give this a little go. Not too bad. Resolving some things on our capstone with this one, right? And then still really rough for these guys. Kind of learning to slow down here. We'll see how that goes again. And then now I remembered to turn this on. Alright. Alright. Time for the warm-up. Hey, worm. Likely low in energy today. It's okay. Let's take a sip of some sugar here. Lovely. Actually, I'm gonna take a jab at these dumplings. Alright. No stiffness to be had on the warm-up anymore. Alright. There was quite a lot of stuttering. Not too bad for second one. A little slice of pure glucose after a great run. Get those neurons firing. Had an annoying day. Was supposed to be an off day, and tomorrow I'm not gonna have any free time. Oh, did something come up? I guess some sort of plan changed. What is today? Today is I guess it would be Friday for you, right? Oh, you were gonna try to have a long weekend. That's very unfortunate. Sorry to hear that. Hopefully you didn't have to change too many plans. No, it's perfectly alright to vent. It's incredibly healthy. If this is a safe space, I'd like to hope it continues to be a safe space for you to vent. That's what, it's a very, very healthy habit if you have safe spaces to vent. If you feel safe, of course. Oh, that felt way more tense than it should have been. This is usually the rough one going up because of the duration. I was supposed to get some stuff done for university, but it took much longer due to scheduling getting mixed up by false alarms. So I spent half my day there and then came here to Overwatch servers not working properly. Oh, okay. Man, that's a lot of coincidental bad days, bad things, or undesirable things. Hopefully things get a little bit better. What is that emote that you triggered? Back. Really? Kind of cute emote though. What's wrong with the Overwatch servers? Hey, Caucus. You got your Lego Fort Nuts early, man. Got Lego Fort Nuts. You and two other players just got kicked from a rank game after side change. So I conclude there was no guarantee it's not going to do that again. That's fair. I have, over my time playing that has occurred every once in a while for sure. I decided to get on SF6. Okay. I was just about to ask you, were you going to do something else and be as an alternative? Because it is nice to know when someone's having a, awful day or a day that's you have alternatives. Do you have your hands remember anything? Oh, that's interesting. So you have taken a break from SF6, and inputs actually feel much easier, even though I haven't played for 2 months. Well, I can do a little. This is a slight deep cut or a slight hot take, but generally speaking, a lot of mechanical motor functions, especially the most sensitive ones, we're not even talking about like gross movements. It takes quite a bit for input mechanically to fall away. I would say even up to an upwards of a year for specific types of dexterity stuff. And 2 months is a little longer than usual deloading periods. But when you take a break, um, when you take a break, it's gonna consolidate. And most of the time, I would say 2 months, maybe even 3 months. If you do it once periodically, every 2 or 3 months, it's maintenance. And then when you're seeking performance, you can definitely edge up a little. However, it's really part of the reconsolidation when you're resting and taking a break, because extended periods of hyper focusing on specific tasks doesn't leave a lot of room for reconsolidating. So I don't think it's very surprising that you find things feeling much easier. It's actually something that feels somewhat counterintuitive a lot of times in our, daily schedule these days. So you gotta put in the hours, gotta put in the hours. But when you breathe, you'd be surprised how well it is. Your deloading is pretty long. I also don't rust mechanically that much. I um I think that is one thing you can probably find a lot of consensus with. So like when you're sharing this thing, I feel that should be the norm that a lot of individuals should realize, because that's kind of how it works most of the time, especially mechanically. Now we're talking about mechanical things, right? Things that deal with intuition. When it comes to like knowledge block, right? Things that have a knowledge check, that stuff. So you were talking about how SF6 feels much easier. That's fair, but remember that this part up here, that type of duration is a bit shorter, especially when it comes to like specific abstract knowledge checks. And games can be abstract knowledge checks. You don't like reinforce something when you step away, like, hey, I gotta run, so I gotta press A B, or something like that. It doesn't reinforce abstraction. So the more abstract the idea is, the more intellectually you can reinforce it. Which means, here's a little slight hot take, which means if you enjoy something intellectually while you're deloading physically, it keeps both of those things in line. I would say when it comes to your knowledge check, durations would be anywhere from a week to 2 weeks. So you find a way to slightly spike and microdose some intellectual reminders, like, oh yeah, that's right, so and so character has a, I don't know, certain characters neutral is +3 all the time. You can observe it in different ways so that it stays intellectually stimulating while you deload. But yeah, mechanically, the mechanical stuff, it's very resilient. It's almost so that it's so resilient, people underestimate how long they can rest and come back and actually feel even better than they were before. And that's the story of Os. Why I mentioned this? Os is that. It's very misunderstood because it's an internet thing, right? It's a gaming thing. Gaming promotes a squish in time dilation. But when you start doing something mechanically, it is incredibly, if you want to be efficient. If you love the game a lot and just want to keep playing it, that's fair. Know that someone who plays infrequently with active rests is likely to also, if you're performance based, it's likely to reach it the same place, generally speaking, if they were comparing to themselves. So like if I played every single day versus I played every 2 days, it is very likely that not only will I end up physically in the same place, I might actually perform better. Because what I do is I liberate all that extra time to bolster anything else, like everything else. And I don't burn out as well. It keeps mitigation and burning out and hyper focusing. So all the negativity and stuff doesn't build up as well. You constantly feel a little dynamic. Golfers does this really well, so he bounces between fighting games quite a bit. And finding alternatives is great. I'm glad to hear that, yeah, you had an awful day, you didn't get the day off, you didn't get to play Overwatch, but then you hopped on something else, and that created a positive reinforcement. That's awesome. That's really great. I encourage you to keep on doing that, for sure. Then you can't just seem to have days bad enough to, you know, harsh your vibe eventually. Alright, this is where we pep really hard for a little bit. Deloading is impressively powerful, along with placebo. When you believe you're gonna have fun in something is very powerful too. Combine those two and you really don't need the science or anything a lot of times. When you take advantage of the placebo idea with deloading. Like if you believe in deloading, it enhances the deloading too. If you believe you'll be rested and come back even stronger from deloading, that's combining both the placebo and understanding what natural deloading does for the body. It's a very powerful, like 30-40% effect, I tell you. Boy. I totally skipped this. I just realized that. It's fine. I'll keep going. This is kind of weird though, because it has a lot of emphasis on stamina. It's the only thing I feel fluctuating noticeably for myself. So I can't figure it out. Even So most players would probably look at my plays and say I have decent, but usually I don't. Like mostly from pushing my stamina, and then causes strain. So, the word I just want to clarify, to re-emphasize. The thing I said was dealing with mechanical dexterity, and dexterity is not a component of stamina. Dexterity, I mean, like, it interacts with stamina, but endurance and stamina has a shorter upkeep. So generally speaking, like, say if you're building endurance for running, usually things that deal with endurance and stamina training is a more frequent upkeep. So I wouldn't say stamina upkeep is resilient, like 5 to 6 months at the really upper end, but usually at 1 to 2 months. When it comes to stamina or some sort of endurance training, it's usually within 2 weeks, 2 weeks to 3 weeks. It's a place to frame around to achieve, to start. But generally speaking, stamina and endurance properties tend to require far more regular upkeep. However, stamina endurance doesn't necessarily have to interact with dexterity, as in you can do things rudimentary to build stamina and maintain stamina without complexity. So what I mean is, dexterity is, say like in Os, one of the dexterity components is speed. Speed is not necessarily a component of endurance. It does overlap. So for example, if you are practicing in dexterity, say you're doing 220 BPM streams, to maintain the endurance without necessarily have to encounter the strain from increased dexterity, if you're doing something fast, it's usually a way of increasing complexity, right? Doing more things within a small time frame. You can still do the mechanical movement, but extend it to a time. So a great example would be intermixing sprinting and running. If you can't sprint because of mechanical strain and the complexity of increased complexity and demand of the dexterity of the sprinting motion, you can fall back to active resting in a slower manner, but the volume stays similar. So stamina and endurance training tends to be about total volume. How many mechanically have you executed a motion? Whether it's a tuning down, it's about executing total volume. So if you run 6 miles, it can offer the same endurance challenge as sprinting for 30 minutes. However, the performance-based dexterity part is about maximizing your sprinting. There are components that overlap that you can still keep up stamina, but make it enjoyable. So stamina endurance is not necessarily completely dominated by dexterity, but at the same time, there's some interaction. What you can do is, over time, you can find something that is easier, right? Easier, but maintain stamina. So if I wanted someone to jog better, like increase their jogging performance, I would insist to step down and ask them to walk in order to maintain their stamina while they're deloading from dexterity training. So like running can be the skill set that is a little too complex and is, you know, challenging their dexterity to develop, and it can be really strenuous. So you do something that you can do for a longer period that matches in volume but lower in complexity. Things like foundational work. So for me, I am not playing maps that have stream maps because it increases dexterity. It increases the need for specific skill sets. I can maintain this and then one day, you know, occasionally go to performance and dexterity and then come back to something I can use to maintain my stamina that's enjoyable and not strenuous. So that's kind of like the foundation of stamina work, stamina endurance. You have to find that ground that you can do what I would call an active rest, as in you can habitually do it to maintain a baseline endurance. You know, the idea of endurance is over time, and your body and stuff to maintain that requires endurance training. So it requires habitual use. That one greatest example is your heart. Your heart doesn't stop for anything. It works less some days, it works harder some days, depending on what you do. It doesn't stop. When it's resting is when you're resting, but it's still going. So endurance training is kind of treated that way. That's usually how people explain how they build up stamina. Start low and practice it until it's comfortable enough to step up. Not forcing. Yes. And what you have to, what is in addition to that is when you're deloading, your foundational comfort is your active rest. So for example, when someone's working out and doing something, their active rest would be stretching on the days they're not working out. They're still doing activity, light activity, that keeps up their maintenance on their endurance. Because endurance is the long game. It's something that is very hard to appreciate because humans don't like looking in what may come and what is like, it's too long of a duration. They tend to focus on here now, which is incredibly healthy. That's a performance-based thing. And dexterity, strength, even constitution, like how strong, like how resilient you are, does play into some of endurance. However, endurance, it doesn't stop. You don't stop doing endurance. You do a little here and there. That's why one of the things, being healthy overall in lifestyle is an endurance battle. You are forming habits. You're thinking about forming habits. When you're dexterity training and strength training and stuff, they don't have to be habits. You can be really good at them and you can let them fall by the wayside, but you'll probably pick them up really quickly again. The idea is that humans, if it's a distinctive task and it's high in complexity and you acquire that skill, that complexity and skill building retains really well because it's very unique and it can stand out. Endurance doesn't stand out most of the time. In order to maintain a great basal level of endurance, you are doing something that you've done mind-numbingly to the point where it's no longer intellectually stimulating. Oh yeah, this one, I like this song quite a bit. Especially when that aria stuff, it's pretty good. So the idea is endurance training. I think my hot take on endurance training is you don't stop for endurance. You want to find a way. You're thinking about habits now. Endurance is arguably, stamina and endurance are arguably the hardest things to train. It's like the goats of things. Not because it's complex or it's hard to understand. In fact, it's easy to understand, but difficult to maintain. And it's the bane of human establishment because you have to develop a habit. And that habit has to be constantly rewarding enough to do it. The downside is it's a double edge. When a human being forms habit and does it over and over again, it becomes less and less intellectually stimulating. So like, even though I could tell you that someone who doesn't walk 30 minutes a day should be encouraged to walk 30 minutes a day, walking is boring. It's not intellectually stimulating anymore. You do it, you know you can do it. But it's the idea of putting in 30 minutes consistently and building volume. 30 minutes is still not that much more engaging than doing it for 10 minutes. If you do it for 100 minutes, it becomes even less engaging than doing it for 30 minutes. That is the endurance mindset. even intellectually. If you're trying to memorize vocabulary, right, and all you're doing is brute forcing, that's a match of endurance. If you do it for 10 minutes, it's still not going to be more engaging than doing the same thing for 20 minutes. 20 minutes is worse. 30 minutes, 40 minutes, a year. So in order to practice endurance training and all that, you have to have a great foundation for habit formation. And that's what I do most of the time. That's all I focus on. Like, for me, I'm not a performance person. I don't exercise great dexterity or strength. I practice how to be consistently great at dropping habits and establishing habits. That's how one learns very consistently. How one can, if it's a hard topic, there's no topic that can match my endurance that's needed to learn that topic. New language, someone tell me it takes 5 years, I'm on board. 5 years, come at me. That kind of thing. It's a property that is very underwhelming over time, and it can be incredibly taxing. And that's the word, right? You endure it. So you want to find all sorts of ways to renew your enthusiasm. And that's kind of where you start grabbing dexterity stuff, strength stuff, to lighten up the endurance. And that's kind of what jobs are. When you want to be constantly proficient at a job, say even content creation, the endurance property of content creation is constantly making it feel like new. Constantly make the same old grind feel like new. The grind is the test of endurance. What you do in the grind can be dexterity, strength, and whatnot, but they're up and down. They will change over time. The video game you play over time will mean different and change different. You know, like it will sway with your mood. The test of endurance is how often you do it. Whether you feel bad or good or not, a test of endurance is you've done it. It's the volume. So what's a great testament to volume and endurance for a content creator? No matter how they feel, they keep up a certain level, right? And they always meet that level and consistently make videos. Each day is one extra video. That is endurance. It's volume. And it's one thing that can really, really be unrewarding if you don't complement it with dynamics, which is where strength and dexterity and intelligence is the other like RPG thing, right? Strength, it's usually like strength, constitution, dexterity, and intelligence. So all the other factors can help endurance be built. And that's kind of the idea. And your goal, generally, I'm really talking about life now, like not just video games and interest, and life skills are built on endurance. So you need to use all your other skills, your complexity skills, to bolster your endurance. Because life is not just one day or one skill. It's a very long time. And it's a go to be happy if you have great endurance. Because you can endure anything then. You can endure hardship. You can endure a difficult problem. No matter how difficult the problem is, if you have enough endurance, you'll eventually solve it. Training it sucks because technically you never deload from endurance training. You're doing it every day. The only time you're not working on endurance is when you stop, when you give up. So, as that sounds like a morbid topic, but I believe that there's ways for everyone to constantly be reinvigorated and interested in the things they do. Just gotta get creative. I know it's simple. I know it sounds easier said than done. Just gotta get creative. For me, why is this interesting to me? Because I'm doing endurance training now. I'm not really doing anything else. It's just endurance training. Because mechanically I know how to do this stuff. Why is it interesting to me? Because I'm endurance training. No other reason, really. Okay. And then I'm making, like, other things to make it more interesting for myself. Alright. I tried. You know, as well as I do, Worm, that there's no connection. There's really these things don't represent the way the PP system affects performance, right? So yeah, I probably believe you. But generally speaking, if you're doing like PP tasks, you don't. No one's expecting you to be doing this. If you know what I mean. So it's like endurance training doesn't give you specialized techniques. So a lot of times, and being a 4-digit requires specialized technique. I know, but it sounds intuitive to be connected, but it's more of a banter comment. Yeah. So what I'm trying to tell you is no reason you should connect those ideas, because you're a 4-digit because you have very specialized skills that the PP system has. If granted, you know, Peppy can always decide to do a different component where it only tests endurance. So what does testing endurance involve? You can remove aim, so the circle only appears in one place, right? For example, and then the only modulation is speed, and then the ranking system is just how fast you tap, or how long you tap. What does that look like? A typing game. You know? A typing game. Where, like, if you just go on a website and show how fast you can type back and forth, That's a great example. There's no ranking system for it, so you should be great. I don't think you should connect. Like I'm making a comment about how your thought process is connecting the idea that you'll fail sooner on what I'm doing, but you're a 4-digit. You are a 4-digit, and failing sooner in this is kind of reasonable because being a 4-digit means you have specialized skills that you invest time in something else. Yeah. On a side note, raw endurance is not really rewarded at all in PP. Yeah, it's less so. I would agree with you. And it's not a component that's emphasized. So because you know that, and I agree with you largely, you should be proud and not really link those two ideas, because your PP performance don't necessarily reflect what it doesn't measure, is kind of my idea. So no amount of this doing is going to help me get, like, so realistically, what I'm doing is going to minimally impact getting PP for me. The idea is I'm not working towards that because I know what this skill set is. It's not really weighted the same way. So when you know that, I like doing it because I'm measuring it some other way. I don't need a system to tell me how to measure this. I can tell people how I measure it, and they can try it and see if they want to measure it. It's a mini game. Just a mini game I play with myself. Right? It's a skill set no one asked for in the system. So I like to do things out of the box because I'm gonna be real, I'm kind of an edgelord when it comes to these things. Like, oh, this guy writes a cycle really, really well by the rules. Well, how do I cycle not using those rules? Because it's fun. Like, this guy's really good at jumping rope with 2 legs, 2 feet on the ground. I guess I'm gonna try to jump rope with 1 leg, like 1 foot on the ground. It just changes up. Like, no one's measuring these things. I just like doing it. And it's fun because, I don't know, it can be interesting to someone. It's like, oh yeah, you know? Why should the PP system be based on how accurately you aim? I mean, I can't really aim that well, so I might as well just keep the circle in the center of the screen and just tap to it. I'm not suggesting that other people do it, it's just fun for me. And what I'm doing here is fun because I like just tapping back and forth. Even though it feels, I like the burn. I like that slight burn and release over and over again. So it's kind of the silver lining here. Mac, but get me to get up before you fall asleep again. Just get up, forehead. Sun and I talked a really long time yesterday. But for me, my body just gets up at noon, my time, like noon EST, regardless of how long I sleep. It's pretty entrained. So I'm like really I'm wired even after two or 3 hours. Not habitually, but 1 day or 2 days isn't gonna affect my energy level too much. Endurance. The goal right now is just to get like 15 seconds of feeling on time, 15 to 30 seconds on feeling in the whole path. Sorry, it's hard to do this while talking. Sheesh. Alright. I try to look to the left to see if I'm on time. I kind of lost track. That burns so good. Sorry. We're sobering up for the week. After the week is where the plateau stuff start happening. So gotta be patient. Don't push too hard. Stay at 80%. We got a long way to go. With the middle finger, again, as a review, is goes right here or here back then. And then we completed all of these two back in the day. It's gonna be a bit. It's only been 7 days. I always had trouble with this last time. Like last year I had a problem too. But it goes away after a while just by looking at it. It deals with the AR change. Up to this point. This is actually a different AR. Oh. Okay. Yeah, it's 9.7. Yeah, this is it's a AR adjustment for the actuation. This is 9.4. It's a little bit rougher. However, when we're doing these, they're all 8s. They're all 8s until you get here. Oh, and here. So it's a big adjustment. So I'm just going through the motions until it start lining up and feel a little comfortable. adjusting to the different actuation time really impacts how I read as well. Okay. Let's try a little bit. Let's try a little bit again, because this is 1 second. Actually, let's just do this one. We gotta start stepping down now. We got like 30 seconds in the beginning, which is nice. Then we have no more stamina. That was yesterday. Yeah. Fingertips are a little warm now. Anything I would say pass. It's a combination of dexterity problems and dexterity limit and stamina. Stamina is being drained because dexterity is not there. That takes a little bit. I would say the intelligence component, like if we're gonna make us into a fun like RPG thing, the intelligence component is the reading, right? Reading does impact some endurance. However, endurance score can be segregated too, so reading tends to be the intelligence component. We don't really use strength. Strength is not necessarily a component. And then, you know, there's charisma too. Charisma could be interpreted as how one motivates self. Like, if your charisma score is really high, you can make things interesting for yourself, which impacts endurance training. And then there's constitution, which means how consistently you are healthy and recover. So today, yeah, it's not as great because, you know, I wasn't resting for a longer period. So constitution is kind of alright. I bounced back pretty alright. Okay. Ugh. It's okay. The early, like, beginning when I was constantly early is a reading issue. It's I'm not lining up properly, so I'm still tapping 168, but it's like 100 milliseconds early, and it's just adjusting to AR. So we're slowly adjusting. We're getting better starting at the 160 BPM, but as it gets higher and it keeps maintaining AR8, I get earlier and earlier. So eventually it'll normalize down. So the whole point of this is just consistently try to just go back and forth and get like 15 seconds. There were two 15-second periods where kind of just on time. Sounds like a bunch of Dark Souls stats to me. Yeah, that is the RPG lifestyle, you know? Like, if I were to give myself a score, for like the relevant stats, so we're skipping strength, obviously, for various reasons. Dexterity, I'd probably say 3 out of 10. No, 4. I would probably give myself a 4 dexterity score. Endurance is probably an 8. So if you're looking at this type of training, right, because my dexterity score is so low, the higher the speed goes, the more it detrimentally caps my endurance. So it doesn't matter how long I can go back and forth, the dexterity is capping my check, right? If you're doing a D&D roll, if you have to roll for both dexterity and endurance, and I probably failed the dexterity check over and over again. And at some point when dexterity meets, it'll make it look like I get more endurance, but generally speaking, I'm now improving a little bit of dexterity here. It's the dexterity is issue. My constitution, I'd probably say a 10. I have incredible constitution. I bounce back from everything. So like, if today is really, really awful, tomorrow can be incredibly great. It just bounces back. So I don't get sick or ill or fall under the weather kind of thing. High constitution. It's not really stamina, it's endurance, right? Endurance is the word that is more used. Or it's part of constitution too. But I would probably charisma? I'd probably say around an 8. I could convince myself and convince others that this is interesting. quite a bit. Which is a component of doing this stuff over and over again. Because you have to be charismatic to yourself as well. Or else the skill is convincing yourself that this is interesting, you want to keep doing this kind of thing. That's also an inwardly focused charisma. Intelligence for this, I would say it's like a 5 out of 10. Middle of the ground, average reading speed. The learning curve for adjusting to BPM changes, AR changes, it's pretty average. It's like 5 out of 10. There's no remarkableness about it. I don't have so it's around where dexterity is, that's why. I would say I rank my dexterity 1 to 2 points lower, because dexterity caps more than my reading skill, which is attached to intelligence. Everything else in between, how long I can play the OS, how interesting OS is the other stuff, right? Constitution, endurance, and charisma is off the charts, because I could do this without thinking. It doesn't get boring, it doesn't get any less interesting, no matter how it works, no matter how poorly I'm performing because of dexterity changes and intelligence. I endure. It's just endurance. I will be playing OS, if it's still around in 10 years, not for the reason where everyone is trying to improve dexterity and intelligence regarding OS. Since I have off the charts constitution and endurance and charisma, I'll play the game, I'll still continue to enjoy it without any dependency on performance. That's a way to like kind of deconstruct what an RPG character would have, and then build a story and rationale around it. It's kind of the attraction of D&D when you make a paper and pen version of your hypothetical character, right? That's a breakdown. Kind of fun. Like a video game if you think about it. In some ways. Alright. I kind of wanted to do that last one again, but it's fine. boy. Yeah, we're just early. When I don't have a dexterity issue in the beginning, we're just early. It's okay. Near the end, you can always you can definitely generally tell when I'm at the end of my stamina, because then my right hand starts moving around too. It's pretty obvious. It's the standard thing. It's a very common telltale sign. We're trying to normalize 160 right now at AR8. Also, it's really not a problem, really. I'm just doing it out of interest because you can just do a difficulty adjustment right here. Oh, you can't see it. It's on the bottom left. But I could just change the approach rate using the diff adjustment. So you could just activate this and change it to AR9 if you wanted. What's the fun in that, right? So like, you can see it slowly coming back down to timing, and then once it gets to 155 is where the comfort zone sets back in. Slow and steady. I gotta wind down quicker. I kind of digressed a little bit today. Trying to keep the active tapping time to about an hour. It's like talking in the gym. Excuse me. That's a stutter, which happens every once in a while. Oi. Yeah, that's in it. That's definitely stamina fail right there. a funny moment when you don't get dexterity checked. Although I still do like so every 10 seconds there's a pair where my ring finger drops quicker, slightly quicker, and it causes like the on time, off time, on time, off time, like every 10 seconds. It's largely because yeah, that the key is so sensitive that if I'm hovering above the key, sometimes I accidentally, it actuates a little slightly faster than I think it's going to. So you always, I see these like long strings, and then suddenly there's like one random key that's early, and then one random key that's early. And I have to get used to that. I need to lift slightly higher, more consistently. Dang it. I kept drifting earlier and earlier. Back a year ago, I'm pretty sure the first, like, at least 140 and 150 were SS a couple times. Or something like that. It was very close. But yeah, I still saw in the beginning where occasionally there's that one key. It went away at the second half, but there's some one key. It's like one early. It goes for another 20. One early. Goes for another 20. It's so distracting. I'm like, man, I'm not lifting high enough. It just actuates unintentionally, like 5 or 10 milliseconds early. Alright. I'm not gonna push any hard. Like, we're not pushing. I think today we kind of reached about 70 to 80% because it took much longer breaks. It's a good place. Pretty much where Shut it, coffers. Butthead. Yeah, we're about. It's not too bad. We did this out of order today, so we'll make sure not to do that again. It's a good wrap for week 1. If I look back on my video, I think day one, we couldn't do these two. So we're getting back there. I'm pretty sure I had problems completing 140. So Back on the wagon. 1 week. We just pep up. Gotta pep up. Alright, that's a wrap for today. That's all she wrote. I gotta salute. Salute to us. Until next time.